Hello everyone. Now you will hear a fast recap of the movie The Crazies.
Enjoy watching.
Ogden Marsh is a small, cozy town located in the state of Iowa. Only 1.0 residents live here. One of the few entertainments here is the baseball games of the school team. Deputy Sheriff Russell noticed a man who went out onto the field with a gun. Sheriff David Dayton commanded the guys to hide, and he asked Rory to calm down. Apparently the farmer got drunk again. Rory's nose started bleeding. He pointed a gun at the sheriff, and David had to shoot the man in front of the locals. They do not yet know that, minus one of them, are already being watched by military intelligence. The pathologist will test the blood of the murdered man for alcohol within 24 hours. Rory's wife and son came to the funeral home. David's pegula is lying after all. Her husband has not had a drink for 2 years. David is now suffering from insomnia. Pregnant wife Judy tries to calm the man down. He did everything right in the morning. The pathologist confirmed that there was, indeed, no alcohol in Rose's blood. So what affected the farmer so much? David returned to the baseball field and noticed the strange behavior of the school principal. Ben was sitting staring at one point and did not even blink until David called out to him. Farmer Bill behaves in much the same way. His wife is worried about his condition. She worries for nothing. I'm fine. I'm just tired. What are your plans for the weekend? She worries for nothing. I'm fine. I'm just tired. In the middle of the night, Bill turned on the combine for some reason. Deirdre ran to check what was going on and saw that the cabin was empty. The woman turned off the machine and heard her son calling for help. The boy was hiding in the closet. It's Dad. What happened? He has a knife in his hand. Bill locked his family in and poured gasoline on the stairs, then lit a match and threw it on the floor. The fire instantly engulfed the entire house. David and his wife arrived at the scene. The fireman said that Bill was simply mowing the grass, while his family died in agony, locked in a closet. Oh God. Oh my God, my God. The next day, hunters found a parachute in a tree. The decomposing body of the pilot was lying right there. In the water, Bill was thrown behind the bars. He has been standing there for several hours staring. At one point, the pathologist reported that the pilot's body had been in the river for about a week. Soon the sheriff found the sunken plane. Containment protocol. For some reason, the plane crash was not reported on the news or in the newspapers. I wonder what it was carrying. The sheriff suspects that what is happening in the city may be related to the pollution of the river. The closest house to it was a farmer named Rory. David went to the mayor and asked him to turn off the water. However, the man refused. Without water, local farmers will go bankrupt. David ignored the mayor's words and did his own thing. Bill felt really bad in the cell. He might even have died. However, the man suddenly woke up and started attacking the cops like a madman. It immediately became clear that the city had lost internet and telephone service. David went outside to check if he could get a mobile signal and realized that the city was deserted. There was not a single person around except for a strange woman on a bicycle. Unknown people took a photo of the sheriff. There was noise coming from the morgue. David ran to check what was going on and found a funeral director there with his eyes and mouth sewn shut. A crazed funeral director was lurking behind him. The man knocked David out and went for an electric saw. He intended to saw the sheriff into pieces. David pulled the cord, and the madman sawed himself to death. The saw almost deprived the sheriff of his dignity. Fortunately, the deputy arrived in time. David asked Judy to leave town, but it was too late. They were captured by the military and thrown into a bus with other residents. Those bastards slashed all my tires. What kind of freaks are these? A giant quarantine center was set up on the school grounds. All the residents of Ogden Marsh were gathered there, and the couple were taken into a tent. They watched as a child was torn from his mother's arms. Each person's temperature was checked. Apparently, some kind of virus was suspected. It turned out that Judy had a fever, so she was separated from David. And no one cared that this was due to her pregnancy. The woman had spent the last few months like this. Judy was rolled into a detox chamber, then sedated. Everyone who passed the check was given distribution cards. With them, the lucky ones will be able to board the bus. They will all be taken to a safe zone. But Judy woke up among the infected. Armed guards are watching them. At some point, the car broke through the fence, and all the infected broke free. An acquaintance persuades David to leave his wife and save himself. Well, he abandoned his. Our sheriff is not that kind of person. Moreover, the military is evacuating from headquarters. They are unable to contain the madman who broke free. David armed himself with a revolver and his assistant with a shotgun. They will try to free Judy. The field is strewn with dozens of dead people. The principal of the school slowly entered the cell to the infected. He had a pitchfork with him, and he began to pierce everyone who showed signs of life. The turn came to high school student Bella, but Judy distracted the madman with her scream. The principal had already raised the pitchfork over her, but was shot by David, who arrived in time. Now the company needs to get to the evacuation site. Russell is worried that he will also get sick. He lives quite close to the infected river. The city is in chaos. All the cars have their wheels locked so that no one can escape. Although one car was still running. It belongs to hunters, who are now going on a safari for people. The sadists clearly enjoy this process. David remembered that he had an old patrol car in his garage. They had to walk 5 miles. Suddenly Becky ran to one of the houses. Her boyfriend Scotty lives there, however. The young man pointed a rifle at them, suspecting that they were also infected. David disarmed him. "Sorry, I wanted to make sure. And I wanted to make sure about you, Scotty." The company heard the noise and hid in the barn. The military arrived in town again. They dragged Scotty's mother out into the street. The guy ran to her and was immediately shot. They did the same to the woman. Their bodies were immediately burned with a flamethrower. One of the soldiers entered the barn. The sheriff grabbed the soldier and took off his gas mask. A very young guy was hiding under it. Apparently, this infection spreads through the air. The boy asked to let him go. He would not tell anyone about them. The sheriff believed the young soldier, and he really did not give them away. When the soldiers left, the survivors continued on their way. By morning, they reached the dating couple's site. And Judy had hoped to raise a child there. Now everyone they knew was dead. The sheriff and his deputy began to repair the car. Judy wanted to take a last look at the nursery. Peggy, the wife of the first infected, was already waiting for her there. David decided to check on his wife and found her tied to a chair. Kurt, Rory's son, attacked him. Peggy stabbed the sheriff in the hand and took the gun. The woman pointed it at Judy's head and was about to shoot, but David was able to pull the knife out of the floor and stab Peggy in the neck. The infected woman was killed, but her son still survived. Russell shot him through the window. While the women were helping David, Russell fired several more bullets into the heads of the madman. Now Judy suspects that the assistant is also sick. He was too cruel and cold-blooded. Becky started coughing in the car. Now Russell himself accused the girl of being infected. Suddenly a combat helicopter flew over them. The pilot noticed them and turned around. David realized that they needed to hide, so he drove into a car wash. There Becky thought she saw someone. Suddenly, the car wash started and the car rolled forward. The car stalled and would not start because of the foam and brushes. The passengers did not see what was happening around them. Meanwhile, the car was surrounded by infected car wash workers. Russell opened fire with a shotgun, but the gun was immediately taken away. The madman attacked the passengers and tried to get into the car. With difficulty, our heroes still managed to fight back, but one of the car washers was hiding from above. He threw a hose over Becca, and she hung limply above the ground. Judy hoped that she could still be saved, but unfortunately the girl's neck was broken. Oddly enough, this saved the lives of the others, because the helicopter smashed the car, which was left standing outside. Russell even left. Then the three walked along the road. Ahead appeared the black car that David had seen earlier in the city. The sheriff took out a gun, hoping to take the vehicle. However, Russell, having fun, threw a hedgehog onto the road. The car flipped several times and smashed to pieces. The deputy was going to shoot the driver, but David stopped him. He learned that the sunken plane was transporting biological weapons. It was designed to destabilize the population, but it was a mistake. David hoped that this guy would help them get out, but Russell cold-bloodedly blew the man's mind. "I told you I want to talk to him." "You talked." Russell left the rifle by the car and began to search it. David took advantage of the moment and took the weapon, but Russell was not satisfied with this. He pointed a gun at his partner and took the rifle again. The assistant looks like. Apparently he really is infected. After some time, Russell threw away the rifle because he was tired of carrying it. "We'll have to deal with him." "No, David doesn't dare. If we don't get to the gas station, we'll die anyway." David approached his friend and offered to talk to him. Yusachi lowered the weapon, but it was a trick. David immediately took the gun from Russell. The guy realized that he was finished. Very soon he too would turn into a monster. "Can I stay with you a little longer?" The couple allowed Russell to go with them. Together they reached a military checkpoint. The sheriff's deputy offered to distract the military. He would die anyway, but he would do it with dignity. The guy walked toward the military with his hands up, then reached for his gun and was shot on the spot. David and his wife took advantage of the moment and ran past unnoticed. Finally, they reached the gas station. There were no people apparently. The evacuation was already over. However, Judy noticed hundreds of shell casings lying on the asphalt, and then the burnt buses. All the residents, who were promised to be taken to a safe zone, were shot and then burned. Judy thought that they would never get out of here, but they couldn't give up. David went to collect supplies. He saw a hunter's pickup truck filled with corpses. Suddenly the lights went out. Judy hid from the madman in the kitchen. The room was also littered with dead bodies. The hunter did not notice the woman and walked away, but her husband found her and took her to the garage. To the truck, unfortunately. None of the keys fit. The right one was left with the dead truck driver. David took the key, but it was dragged into a pit by a huge auto mechanic. The hunter had been tracking Judy all this time, but the woman outsmarted him and blew out the madman's brains. David managed to pour fuel oil on the mechanic, after which he burned the infected man alive. It was time to get out of here. He and his wife got into the truck and drove to the nearest big city. David took a walkie-talkie with him and heard the countdown. In 30 seconds. A bomb would be dropped on the city. They needed to hurry, but nothing happened. After 0, is there anything? They got out and stared at a huge, fiery mushroom that was rising above their destroyed town. David and Judy hobbled slowly toward the town of Citro Rapids. Citro Rapids, Iowa. Population 128,056. Containment Protocol. Thanks for watching and don't forget to subscribe.